devotional service to Krishna. Therefore he didn't understand, and he literally says here, I made fun of him. But after he'd met Lord Chaitanya, his heart had been changed, then he could understand, those topics that Ramananda Roy was talking about was actually the most exalted level of bhakti. So he's explaining this here to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Text 69. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked the Bhattacharya to bless him while he engaged in the devotional service of Lord Krishna at home, so that by Sarvabhauma's mercy the Lord could return to Jagannath Puri. Saying this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu departed on his tour, and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya immediately fainted and fell to the ground. Although Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya fainted, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not take notice of him. Rather, he left quickly. Who can understand the mind and intention of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? This is the nature of the mind of an uncommon personality. Sometimes it is soft like a flower, but sometimes it is as hard as a thunderbolt. The hearts of those above common behavior are sometimes harder than a thunderbolt and sometimes softer than a flower. How can one accommodate such contradictions in great personalities? Lord Nityananda Prabhu raised Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and with the help of his men saw him to his home. Immediately all the devotees came and partook of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's company. Afterwards, Gopinathacharya came with the garments and prasadam. So this was the garments that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya had asked him to bring for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All the devotees followed Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to a place known as Alalanath. There they all offered respects and various prayers. In great ecstasy, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced and chanted for some time. Indeed, all the neighbors came to see him. All around Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is also known as Gaura Hari, people began to shout the holy name of Hari. Lord Chaitanya, immersed in his usual ecstasy of love, danced in the midst of them. The body of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was naturally very beautiful. It was like molten gold, dressed in saffron cloth. Indeed, he was most beautiful for being ornamented with the ecstatic symptoms which caused his bodily hair to stand on end, tears to well up in his eyes, and his body to tremble and perspire all over. Everyone present was astonished to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's dancing and his bodily transformations. Whoever came did not want to return home. So this was at Alalanath, at this place where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was dancing in ecstasy. And many other pastimes happened there, and then finally Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left all the devotees behind him and went on his South Indian tour. Ramananda Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is recommending Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu here, just before these Alalanath pastimes, to meet Sri Ramananda Roy, and today is various Vishis Day of Sri Ramananda Roy's disappearance day. So from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya chapter 8 we can read, after Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to the Korma Desh, he met Vasudeva Lepa and other pastimes, and finally he came down further into South India and he came to the bank of the Godavari, and there he did meet Ramananda Roy as instructed or recommended by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. So this is described in chapter 8, text 19. When Ramananda Roy saw the wonderful sannyasi, he was struck with wonder. He went to him and immediately offered his respectful obeisances, falling down flat like a rod. The Lord stood up and asked Ramananda Roy to arise and chant the holy name of Krishna. Indeed, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very eager to embrace him. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then inquired whether he was Ramananda Roy, and he replied, "Yes, I am your very low servant, and I belong to the Shudra community." Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then embraced Sri Ramananda Roy very firmly. Indeed, both the master and the servant almost lost consciousness due to ecstatic love. Their natural love for each other was awakened in them both, and they embraced and fell to the ground. When they embraced each other, ecstatic symptoms, paralysis, perspiration, tears, shivering, paleness, and standing up of the bodily hairs appeared. The word Krishna came from their mouths falteringly. When the stereotyped ritualistic brahmanas who were following the Vedic principles saw this ecstatic manifestation of love, they were struck with wonder. All these brahmanas began to reflect as follows. The brahmanas thought, we can see that this sannyasi has a luster like the effulgence of Brahman, but how is it he is crying on embracing a Shudra, a member of the fourth caste in the social order? They also thought, this Ramananda Roy is the governor of Madras, a highly learned and grave person, a Mahapandit. But upon touching this sannyasi, he has become restless like a madman. While the Brahmanas were thinking in this way about the activities of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Roy, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw those outsiders and restrained his transcendental emotions. So the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu can only be understood by his mercy. And this was actually said by, I think it's Gopinath Acharya said to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, one of that you can't understand Lord Chaitanya because you haven't got his mercy yet. No, I'm thinking. Who was that who said that? It was? He said to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya or somebody else? He said like that, yeah. He said that you cannot, then when you get the mercy you'll understand. So these Brahmanas, they were very doing their rituals and trying to focus on Brahman and all of these things, but therefore they couldn't enter into the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Similar to the ritualistic Brahmanas in Krishna Lila, although the wives had natural devotion for Krishna and Balaram, the ritualistic Brahmanas were like, no, we can't, it's not time in the yajna yet. They were putting the rituals above the devotion to the Supreme Lord. So, some history of Ramananda Roy, that he was born in Bentapur, which is very close to Alalnath, where Bhavananda Roy was, and he had 5 sons, the eldest of which was Ramananda Roy. So they were descendants of this family line, and they're known as Chaudhary Patanaika. It is said that Lord Chaitanya visited the birthplace of Ramananda in Alalnath every year. When I was recently, when I had to pick up Bhakti Purushottam Maharaj from the airport, and they sent me the travel itinerary, and I've known Maharaj for many years, but I didn't know his legal name, and his legal name is Ramesh Patanaika. And you know this, Maharaj? So I did that, and when I was picking Maharaj driving back, I said, Maharaj, Patanaika, is that like the Patanaika family? He said, oh no, I'm not in that family. We're just related by marriage. So he's somewhere there, but he was being humble. Like he was saying, no, I'm not a direct descendant of, Bhavananda Roy, but essentially he is, and he's literally from that place. He said, no, we're from a slightly different place. It's between Puri and Alalnath, and associated by marriage. So anyway, I was just reflecting on what an extraordinary soul Bhakti Purushottam Maharaj is, and if you look at his life, he just never had any interest in anything, just to serve the Lord. He took sannyas at a very, very young age and was just completely devoted. He's such a sober person, and anyway, we all had his association, right? A couple of weeks ago, he was here. So anyway, that was a nice little thing, that thing. His legal name is actually Patanaika, the same as this. So Ramananda was the governor of East and West Godavari and a minister of King Prataparudra. So the same King Prataparudra that was king of the whole of, not just Orissa, but the Pandya kings, their kingdom went right down into South India. It was a huge kingdom. And this is one of the reasons that is given for the culture of Puri as being so much protected, more so than other parts of India, that these Pandya kings were so strong that there was really no influence of the Muslim kings there until much, much later, even the 16th, 17th centuries. Even if you, I don't like to quote Wikipedia in Bhagavatam class because I've seen it done. I raise my eyebrows a little bit. But you can look on the Wikipedia page even of Maharaj Prataparudra, and it explains there, and this is totally nothing to do with our bhakti text, but it explains there that one of the reasons historians give for the fall down of the weakening of the Pandya kings, from Maharaj Prataparudra, his son Purushottam Dev, that they were so devoted to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that they just sort of couldn't get fired up about, making the kingdom so strong and everything anymore, and basically the kingdom weakened. That's just general history that you can read, which is interesting. But he was a minister of Maharaj Prataparudra, and interestingly, we can see that in the case of Sanatana Goswami, he was a minister for the Islamic king in Bengal, Nawab Hussain Shah. Yeah. So then, when he said to him, "I don't want to be a king. I don't want to be a minister anymore. I just want to go and follow Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu," the king was very, very angry and actually locked him up and a whole thing to try to get him to change his mind and everything. But with Ramananda Roy, as soon as he said to Maharaj Prataparudra, "I want to just go and follow Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu," Maharaj Prataparudra was so happy. He loved Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu so much. He was so happy that he actually doubled his salary. He said, "You can retire, I'll give you a pension. Not only that pension will be double what I was paying you to do the job of managing this entire kingdom." So a very, very different response from Maharaj Prataparudra. He was very dedicated to Lord Jagannath and obviously Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he was very, very happy. And of course, Ramananda Roy, as we know, came and was a constant companion of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In Guru Ganadesh Jibika, it states that Ramananda Roy was Arjuna in a past incarnation. Sometimes as also considered to be an incarnation of the Gopi associate of Radharani, Lalita, although sometimes some opinions are that he's an incarnation of Vishaka, so either that. But he's the most confidential devotee of Lord Chaitanya, especially in his mood, taking on the mood of Srimati Radharani. Text 55. So, Lord Chaitanya, as we just read, he felt a little shy. He didn't want to, expose his inner emotion to the outsiders, to the brahmanas and so forth. They didn't really understand. So he arranged to meet Ramananda Roy later. And then, so after finishing his evening bath, this is text 55 of Madhya Lila, chapter 8, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sat down and waited for Ramananda Roy to come. Then Ramananda Roy, accompanied by one servant, came to meet him. Ramananda Roy approached Lord Sri Chaitanya and offered his respectful obeisances, and the Lord embraced him. Then they began to discuss Krishna in a secluded place. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ordered Ramananda Roy recite a verse from the real scriptures concerning the ultimate goal of life. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, is worshipped by the proper execution of prescribed duties in the system of Varna and Ashram. There is no other way to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One must be situated in the institution of the 4 Varnas and Ashrams. The Lord replied, "This is external. You had better tell me of some other means." So here we can see this very famous discussion between, among Gaudiya Vaishnavas, extremely essential truths, very famous discussion between Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Roy. And right in the beginning, we can see that Ramananda Roy says to act as a perfect person, to act perfectly, whether you're a brahmana, a teacher, or an administrator, or a business person, or you're assisting, working for the other levels, you have to act properly in the external world to serve. There's no other means of pleasing the Lord. You can't be a disturbance in society and at the same time think that you're serving God or pleasing God. This is very clear. And this is where this discussion, pretty much in the first 2 slokas, goes beyond, and we don't want to be sectarian, or we certainly don't want to criticize other processes of God consciousness, but essentially all of the other processes of God consciousness that we see on the world today are essentially on this level. Following Varnashram, being a good person, doing your duties properly, this is considered as the highest level. But as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says here, this is external. Now, we can note here also, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't say, this is complete nonsense, don't worry about how you act in society, just do whatever. He doesn't say that. He just says this is external, so go further, right? So he's establishing that a pure devotee, he still acts externally perfectly. I was just reading, it's a nice production of Uddhava Gita that's been done by some devotees, and they've included the commentary of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Bhaktivinoda Saraswati Thakur, and essentially the translations are the same as the BBT, but I was just reading that, and I think it's like 4 or 5 slokas into that Uddhava Gita, which is an incredible, expansion of Bhagavad Gita, obviously, in 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. There's a verse that basically says that somebody who's fully dedicated to Krishna, to God, they act perfectly in the external world in the same way that an innocent child acts. They don't have to try to follow, and that verse says, not due to a feeling of like, this is right, that is wrong. They're not thinking, this is right, that is wrong. They're so innocent. They'll never hurt anyone. They'll never break principles. They never engage in any kind of intoxication. All of these simple things, they just have no interest, in the same way that a very innocent child has no interest in, is not harmful to others. So anyway, just a point to understand that bhakti is on top of, or an extension of, or a progression of proper behavior within the Varnashram, and that's the first point that's made here. Text 60, Ramananda Roy continued, "My dear son of Kunti, whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer in sacrifice, whatever you give in charity, and whatever austerities you perform, all the results of such activities should be offered to me, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead." So now we get into the devotional service, the science of devotion. Don't just act perfectly as a perfect person in the world, but then whatever you do, give that up. Offer that to Krishna. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wants him to go further. This is also external, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said. Please proceed and speak further on this matter. Ramananda Roy replied, to give up one's occupational duties in the Varnashram system is the essence of perfection. So now they're going beyond Varnashram. They're transcending Varnashram, not subscending or whatever that word, not being less than Varnashram. Transcending. To give up the occupational duties of you must do this, you must do that. Ramananda Roy says, occupational duties are described in the religious scriptures. If one analyzes them, he can fully understand their qualities and faults and then give them up completely to render service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such a person is considered a first-class man. As stated in Scripture, Bhagavad Gita 1866, after giving up all kinds of religious and occupational duties, if you come to me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and take shelter, I will give you protection from all of life's sinful reactions. Do not worry. Text 64. After hearing Ramananda Roy speak in this way, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again rejected his statement and said, go ahead and say something more. Ramananda Roy continued, according to the Bhagavad Gita, one who is thus transcendently situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments or desires to have anything. He is equally disposed toward every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me. Brahmabhutta Prasanatma, this verse from Gita. After hearing this, the Lord, as usual, rejected it. So he's pushing him further and further for higher truths. So now he's going to pure devotional service beyond liberation. But Lord Chaitanya is asking for more. After hearing this, the Lord as usual rejected it, considering it be external devotional service. He again asked Ramananda Roy to speak further, and Ramananda Roy replied, pure devotional service without any touch of speculative knowledge is the essence of perfection. So, pure devotional service. There's nothing to do with liberation, speculative knowledge, understanding the world, how to get free from the world. Just total pure devotional service, complete absorption in Krishna. Ramananda Roy continued, Lord Brahma said, "My dear Lord, those devotees who have thrown away the impersonal conception of the absolute truth and have therefore abandoned discussing empiric philosophical truths should hear from self-realized devotees about your holy name, form, pastimes and qualities. They should completely follow the principles of devotional service and remain free from illicit sex, gambling, intoxication and animal slaughter, surrendering themselves fully with body, words and mind. They can live in any ashram or social status. Indeed, you are conquered by such persons, although you are always unconquerable." At this point, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, "This is all right, but still you can speak more on the subject." Ramananda Roy continued, as long as there is hunger and thirst within the stomach, varieties of food and drink make one feel very happy. Similarly, when the Lord is worshipped with pure love, the various activities performed in the course of that worship awaken transcendental bliss in the heart of the devotee. Pure devotional service in Krishna consciousness cannot be had even by pious activity in hundreds and thousands of lives. Pious activities means karmic activities, giving in charity, helping people. Pure devotional service can't be had by even hundreds of thousands of lives of such activity. It can only be attained by paying one price, that is, intense greed to obtain it. If it is available somewhere, one must purchase it without delay. Hearing up to the point of spontaneous love, the Lord said, "This is all right, but if you know more, please tell me." Text 72. A man becomes purified simply by hearing the holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose lotus feet create the holy places of pilgrimage. Therefore, what remains to be attained by those who have become his servants? By serving you constantly, one is freed from all material desires and is completely pacified. When shall I engage as your permanent, eternal servant and always feel joyful to have such a perfect master? Hearing this from Ramananda Roy, the Lord again requested him to go further. In reply, Ramananda Roy said, and we can see here, that he's starting to bring in the 5 rasas, the 5 actual relationships. See? So now he said, by serving you constantly, one feels joyful to have that pure devotional service. So this is the first this neutral love of Godhead. Then the first stage of actual active love of Godhead is servitude. Everything begins and everything is pervaded by servitude in the spiritual world. All of the other rasas. So then he goes to the next fraternity. Friendship rasa. The Lord again requested him to go a step further. In reply, Ramananda Roy said, loving service to Krishna rendered in fraternity is the highest perfection. Neither those engaged in the self-realization of appreciating the Brahman effulgence of the Lord, nor those engaged in devotional service while accepting the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Master, nor those under the clutches of Maya, thinking the Lord an ordinary person, can understand that certain exalted personalities, after accumulating volumes of pious activities, are now playing with the Lord in friendship as cowherd boys. The Lord said, this statement is very good, but please proceed even further. Ramananda Roy continued, O Brahman, what pious activities did Nanda Maharaj perform by which he received the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna as his son? And what pious activities did Mother Yashoda perform that made the absolute Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna call her mother? So now we've gone to the parental rasa, right? The relationship of having the Lord as your child. Rather than saying, oh Lord, give me my daily bread, we're saying, oh Lord, when would you like your daily chapati? The favor Mother Yashoda obtained from Krishna, the bestower of liberation, was never obtained even by Lord Brahma or Lord Shiva, nor even by the goddess of fortune, who always remains on the chest of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu. So we're seeing the glories of Brajabhumi Dham, Vrindavan Dham is being explained here. Even Lakshmi Devi herself, we hear in different pastimes where she performed various austerities to try to enter into the pastimes of Vrindavan. These higher rasas are exhibited fully in Brajadam. The Lord said, "Your statements are certainly getting better and better, one after the other, but surpassing all of them is another transcendental mellow, and you can speak of that as the most sublime." Text 282. Lord Sri Krishna is the reservoir of all pleasure. So I jumped. There's a very, very long explanation of this highest rasa, and of course this is the mood that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come in, this mood of Srimati Radharani, in this mood, and this topmost Madhuri rasa in service to Krishna. And this is described in great detail here, but we'll just touch and finish up. Lord Sri Krishna is the reservoir of all pleasure, and Srimati Radharani is the personification of ecstatic love of Godhead. These two forms had combined as one in Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This being the case, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu revealed his real form to Ramananda Roy. So we can see here this very famous painting where after this discussion, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu reveals his identity as Srimati Radharani and Krishna combined. After seeing this form, Ramananda Roy lost consciousness in transcendental bliss. Unable to remain standing, he fell to the ground. When Ramananda Roy fell to the ground, unconscious, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu touched his hand and he immediately regained consciousness. But when he saw Lord Chaitanya in the dress of a sannyasi, he was struck with wonder. After embracing Ramananda Roy, we have a few more minutes, 28:27. After embracing Ramananda Roy, the Lord pacified him, informing him, "But for you no one has ever seen this form." Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu confirmed, "All the truths about my pastimes and mellows are within your knowledge. Therefore I have shown this form to you. Actually, my body does not have a fair complexion. It only appears so because it has touched the body of Srimati Radharani. However, she does not touch anyone but the son of Nanda Maharaj." So he's sort of roundabout way describing his identity here. "I have now converted my body and mind into the ecstasy of Srimati Radharani. Thus I am tasting my own personal sweetness in that form." So we know that very famous verse. Shri Radhara Bhavalaya Chaitanya Avatar Jugadama Nama Prema Kaila Pracha. He's come for two reasons. For his own internal reason to experience this, the love of Srimati Radharani has for him, and also to distribute his own love in the form of the holy name in Kali Yuga. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then admitted to his pure devotee Ramananda Roy, "Now there is no confidential activity unknown to you. Even though I try to conceal my activities, you can understand everything in detail by virtue of your advanced love for me." The Lord then requested Ramananda Roy, "Keep all these talks a secret. Please do not expose them anywhere and everywhere. Since my activities appear to be like those of a madman, people may take them lightly and laugh." Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which was exactly what happened, right, with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya when he met Ramananda Roy originally. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then said, "Indeed, I am a madman and you are also a madman. Therefore, we're on the same platform." For 10 nights, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Roy spent a happy time discussing the pastimes of Krishna. Shri Ramananda Roy Disappearance Day ki jai. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Go Premanandi. Thank you.